Hello, welcome to your session on Turn Your Everyday Work into Credentials That Count. I am Liberty Munson. I'm the Director of Psychometrics at Microsoft. I have been managing our credentialing program for nearly 20 years, and I am the perfect person to talk to you about what to expect when it comes to our credentials and what they can bring for you. So with that, let us get started. Before we jump into it, let me quickly frame how we'll spend our time together. We'll start by grounding ourselves in the AI-driven shift in work and skills because the context matters for everything that follows. Then we'll talk about why credentials matter now, not just as a signal, but as a way to keep pace with the change, all that's changing. From there, I'll give you a quick overview of Microsoft certifications and applied skills. I'll demo each one of them so you can see what these experiences actually look like. I'll also share practical tips to help you accelerate your own credential journey, along with insights from the voice of our learners and customers and what's working in the real world. Then I'll introduce what's new in the portfolio, including a demo of a new credential, one that I am very excited about. Finally, I'll leave you with next steps so you can walk away knowing exactly where to start. Let's start with what's fundamentally changing and why this moment is different. AI is transforming the workforce faster than any previous technology shift, driving a global requirement for job roles. Every sector is impacted, not just tech. Research shows that 70% of skills used in most jobs will change by 2030. Let that number sink in for a second. 70%. That means the majority of what you do today will most likely look fundamentally different by 2030. Not slightly different, fundamentally different. We also know that most jobs aren't going away, but they are changing. These days, more employees are letting AI handle repetitive tasks so they can spend their time on things that require creativity, strategic thinking, and working with others. Staying competitive means that you continually have to update your skills. Every role, whether a business user, a tech specialist, or a leader, needs both technical and human skills. It's when we bring those together that we see real progress. On the technical side, skills like AI fluency, prompting, and responsible AI are must-haves for everyone. But AI can't replace what makes us human. Skills like critical thinking, creativity, and being adaptable are essential. They're what keeps us resilient, but they work best when they're paired with technical expertise. At this point, most organizations are already investing in AI. They have the right tools, they have the right platforms, and they have the right infrastructure. But here's the reality. Those investments only create value when people have the skills to actually use them. What we consistently see is that organizations that treat skilling as a strategic priority, not a side effort, move faster from experimentation to real business impact. When people have the right skills, a few things change. Adoption happens more naturally. People apply AI to real problems, not just pilots, and decision-making improves in the flow of work. That's why continuous learning matters. It's not just about keeping up. It's about unlocking productivity, innovation, and competitive advantage. But this raises an important question. How do you actually know those skills exist and that they can be trusted? That's where this conversation shifts from building skills to proving them. In today's market, it's no longer enough to say that you understand AI. Leaders and hiring managers are looking for clear, credible signals of what someone can actually do. In fact, the majority of hiring managers are already prioritizing AI skills, but they need confidence that those skills are real and applicable. So the question becomes, what's the signal? That's the role of credentials. Microsoft credentials provide a trusted, verified way to demonstrate skills, not just knowledge, about the ability to apply it. For individuals, that creates visibility and opportunity. For organizations, it creates confidence that their teams are truly ready. And that's the foundation for everything that we'll look at next. At Microsoft, we think about credentials in three simple dimensions: building skills, validating them, and creating impact. First, building skills. This is about developing practical, job-ready capabilities, not just learning concepts, but being able to use them in the real world. Second, validation. Credentials provide a trusted, Microsoft-backed signal that those skills are real and reliable, not just self-reported. And third, impact. This is where it all connects back to the business. Credentials help individuals gain recognition, and they help organizations understand where capabilities exist and where gaps remain. And importantly, credentialing isn't a one-time event. It's a framework that supports growth at every stage, from someone just getting started to someone deepening their expertise in a role. With that foundation in mind, let's explore the Microsoft Credential program. The Microsoft Credential program has two types of credentials: applied skills and certifications. Applied skills validate skills solving specific business problems and include beginner-level options for those just starting out or switching roles. Use them to show proficiency in a specific skill or to build momentum toward a certification. Certifications validate a wide range of skills required to be successful in your job role. Certifications assess breadth of knowledge and skills at multiple levels: fundamentals, associate, expert, and specialty. Together, certifications and applied skills support every stage of career growth and provide a trusted, verified signal for job-ready skills. Credentials now span both technical and business roles, so you should be able to find a credential that works for you. Let's dig a little bit deeper into Microsoft certifications, what they are and what to expect. At a high level, certifications are designed to validate the breadth of skills required for a job role. They're not about isolated tasks, they're about whether someone can perform effectively in a real-world role. And that's exactly why they're so widely recognized. Organizations use them not just for learning, but for hiring, upskilling, and building trusted teams. There are a few things that make certifications powerful. First, they're comprehensive. You earn them by passing an exam that reflects real job role responsibilities, not just theory. Second, they support career growth. From fundamentals to expert, they give people a clear path to progress and deepening their expertise over time. Third, they're renewable, which means we're keeping your skills current as technology evolves, especially important in areas like AI, where things are moving super fast. And finally, they're shareable, giving individuals a globally recognized way to demonstrate capability. For individuals, this creates a clear, credible signal of what they can do. For organizations, they create confidence that their teams have the skills to deliver. We've deliberately redesigned our certification portfolio to match the AI roles employers are hiring right now. These are the certifications that map to a real and growing career path. These are a few of the new certifications that we'll be launching over the next few months, but we have more to come. At the foundational level, we're refreshing our Azure AI Fundamentals exam for anyone just getting started. For practitioners, we're covering the most in-demand specializations from AI security, agent building, intelligent app development, and ML ops, because operationalizing models at scale is where many organizations struggle the most. We've also added the cybersecurity business professional for leaders in non-technical roles who need to make informed security decisions. The key point is that every certification here was designed around roles that exist today and are growing fast. So learning one sends a clear, meaningful signal to employers and peers. Before you sit an exam, it helps to know exactly how questions are built, so nothing feels unfamiliar on test day. Every certification question follows a similar 4-part structure you can see here. The questions always have question statements, but the basic flow is the same regardless of the exam level. First, you will see the information on the technical level, such as the relevant tools and contexts that are needed to set the stage for the problem that you're going to solve. Then you'll be presented with the problem statement that describes the requirements or constraints that you need to address. Next are the goals that you need to accomplish when solving the problem. And finally, the question statement, which is often, what should you do? Sometimes it might be, what tools should you use? Or what should you do first? I'm highlighting this because most of our exams are not about memorizing facts. They're designed to test whether you can apply your knowledge and experience in realistic, job-relevant situations. Let's look at a concrete example of the item structure. So this is an item that appeared on the Windows 7 exam. I know it's old, forgive me, but I'm not sharing any exam items that we're showing right now on our exams. But it does give you a sense of what the Microsoft question looks like. You can see that we have the technical environment, the business or the problem that needs to be solved, the goal statement or the requirements of what has to be in place to efficiently and effectively solve that problem, and then the question statement, which is almost always, what should you do? Occasionally, what should you do first, or what would you do next? And then, of course, you can see the answer choices that you have to choose from. I will highlight that this is just an example of a multiple choice question. We have a wider variety of item types, but all of the items, the stems, that question part of the problem, is always structured the same way. Technical problem, technical environment, business plan, problem, goal statement, or question, and the question statement. A caveat to that is the fundamentals sometimes just have the goal and the question statement, but still that 4-piece structure is the overall view of what a Microsoft question looks like. Now I want to show you what an exam experience looks like in real time. So I'm going to demo our exam sandbox. This exam sandbox is something I am particularly proud of that we allow all of our candidates to get access to, and I encourage you to play with it before you take an exam, so you're very comfortable with how to navigate through the exam and the different item types you might encounter. We don't use real items in the sandbox for security reasons, but you will get to see what the different item types look like that you might encounter during the exam, and you'll also get to see what the exam UI looks like, what to expect about the flow of the question experience from the NDA to the instructions to the questions to leaving comments. So with that, let's go to the demo. Once you start the exam sandbox, the first screen you will see is our exam NDA, or a non-disclosure agreement. Basically, this lays out the rules and requirements that you need to follow as you complete the exam. You have two options. To proceed with the exam, you have to agree with what is covered in this NDA. If you say you don't want to agree, that will end your exam. So just be aware that you should agree to follow the rules and requirements and, actually follow them as you take the exam. So you can hit, yes, I agree. And then you will be shown the first screen of the exam, which is basically an introduction screen. It gives you the session time. It shows you so there's a difference between the session time, which is the time that includes both going through the instructions and providing comments. And then the exam time is specific to the time that you'll have to complete the questions. We give you an overview of the total number of questions, the number of standalone questions, the number of cases you'll have, and the number of labs that you'll have. And then we will also provide the required score to pass. We don't have a score to pass because this is the exam sandbox, but every Microsoft certification exam requires you to achieve a score of 700 in order to pass. So once you've gotten the introduction around what to expect on the exam, you go to the next screen and you can see that you have instructions. You have instructions on the different question formats, how time works, how you take unscheduled breaks, reviewing questions later, leaving feedback, and so on. So it is really important to read through the instructions so you know what to expect as you go through the exam. Then finally, before you launch the exam, we're going to remind you one more time what to expect when you take the exam. It's really, really important to note if you have a case study and if you have a lab so that you can make sure you monitor your time correctly. We don't do that for you. You have the full exam time to complete every section of the exam. So if you choose to spend more time on the standalone questions than a case study, you may do so. But if you need to make sure that you leave enough time to complete however many case studies you have and how many labs you have. So we're going to start the exam. And so in this case, we have a page here to remind you this is the exam sandbox. And then we're going to see the first question. This is actually an example of one of our multiple choice questions. And so you answer the question just like you would normally. A couple of features that I want to highlight. On the top of the screen, you can see your progress as you make your way through the exam. You can see that this has 3 sections. You have standalone questions, you have a case study, and you have a lab. If you want to hide that, you can toggle the progress bar on and off. You can notice you can do the same thing for time. If it is overwhelming and a little scary to see the clock ticking down in the corner over there, you can turn the time off and you turn it back on. And then we have this left navigation pane, which is super cool because it gives you the different options of an overview of the different actions you can take in the exam itself. So you can see how many questions there are, how many you have answered, how many you have unanswered. You can see where you're at on our subway map in terms of the exam. You can take a break. And then you can use a calculator. You can change the color scheme. For those of you who like dark mode, you can now do it. People were super excited when we launched this, which I do not understand because I'm not a fan of dark mode. But if you're one of those, you can choose your own color scheme. So let's answer a few questions to kind of show you what this looks like. I'm going to mark a few for feedback and a few for review so that you can see how you do this. Do not look at the answers I'm picking here. I'm just doing this randomly to get through here. But this is an example of a drag and drop item. I'm going to want to leave feedback for that. I'm going to review this one later. I'm going to skip it. And so when I do that, you can see that I have answered 3 questions, I have unanswered 3, and I've marked 2 for review. We're going to just keep going here for a moment so that I can show you a couple other features before we go back to the deck. So one of the things that's really great about our exams now is that you can take an unscheduled break. Previously, you had to request an accommodation to do this. If you need to take a break, you simply select the Take a Break button. You will be given information on how many questions you have seen, how many questions you have not answered, and how many questions you have marked for review. This is particularly important because you will not be able to go back to those questions once you start the break. So if I wanted to go back and answer these 3 questions that were unanswered, I should do that before I start my break. For demo purposes, I'm just going to start my break so I can show you what that looks like. You can see the time is counting down. You don't get extra time when you go on a break. The clock doesn't stop. So again, you need to manage your own time. You can take as many breaks as you want for as long as you want. And if you happen to be on break when the exam time runs out, we will score you on what you were able to complete to that point. So I'm going to resume. I took my break. Now, here's what's pretty interesting about that. Remember, there were questions that I couldn't go back to. So I had some questions that were unanswered, but I am not allowed to go back to those because I went on a break, and that was what I was warned about. So you just keep that in mind as you take a break. Do not leave any questions unanswered or unreviewed if you do want to go back to those questions in the future. So I just want to show you what the review screen is. From the review screen, you can go back to the questions that you marked for review. So there was one that I marked for review. Unfortunately, I went on my break, so I can't go back to that. If I hadn't been on my break, I would have been able to go back and review that question. Just for the purposes of time, I'm going to finish this section. I'm going to skip through the case study questions so I can get to the lab demo. I'm not answering the questions, so it's given me some feedback that I should answer the questions. So if I wanted to go back, I can review those questions as you can see. Now, I want to just show you, I'm not going to play the video for the lab section, but I want you to go into the sandbox. This is one of your actions, is you go into the sandbox, and we can't actually have you demo the labs. We can't give you access to the infrastructure that allows you to complete a lab. So we've recorded what the lab experience is like, and we've embedded it in the sandbox. So if you want to learn more about labs on exams, go and watch that recording in the sandbox. It walks you through exactly what to expect. And then once you leave the lab section, you can't go back to it. Once you leave a case study section, you can't go back to it. So you're always prompted, are you sure you want to leave before you move on? So I get to my end of the exam. I click next. There were some items that I wanted to leave feedback on. So I can do that where the items that I marked for comment. So this is after the exam time is done. You get extra time to leave comments. We do read those comments. So give feedback if there is something interesting that you want to share about an item. So I think I hit the most important pieces of the exam experience. And so I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to finish the exam, and then I passed because we have no cut score. So play around with the exam sandbox. I think that there's a lot that you'll learn based on that experience. And then you will see what an example of the score report is in the exam sandbox. So it's totally awesome because you really do get an experience of what to expect when it comes to the exam. There's one element of the exam you cannot experience through the sandbox, and that's accessing Microsoft Learn. Because it's enabled through the secure browser, it's not available in the sandbox because we don't turn on the secure browser for that experience. But it's one of the features that I'm most proud of and that many candidates love. So let's talk about how it works. Access to Microsoft Learn is a resource that is available on associate, expert, and specialty exams. It is intended to be used for those questions that describe problems where you may need to look something up on Microsoft Learn as you do your job. It is not something you should be leveraging to answer every question on the exam. In fact, if you do that, you're not going to be able to complete the exam in time, in the time allotted, and that is by design. And for what it's worth, most Microsoft exam questions cannot be answered by looking stuff up on Microsoft Learn. And again, that's by design. You will have access to everything in learn.microsoft.com domain except the question and answer, practice assessments, and your profile. As I mentioned, extra time has not been added, and the exam timer will continue as you explore Microsoft Learn content. Learn will be available in the same languages in which the exam is available, and we just recently enabled Control F on Windows or Command F on Mac to search for content on a given page in Learn. So let's watch a quick video on how you access Microsoft Learn and some of the functionality within that resource. So here's a recording of how this works. You can see when you go to the left nav, you hit Microsoft Learn, and then Microsoft will appear in a split screen on the right-hand side with your question on the left. You can search for whatever it is you want to look for on Microsoft Learn, and you can go to any website that is connected to Microsoft Learn. You can change the size of the screen, the real estate. So if you want to give more space to the question or more space to learn, you can do that with the slider bar in the middle. You can add as many tabs as you want. There is no upper limit on the number of tabs as you scroll through and experience and look content up on Learn. You cannot access any site that is not part of the learn.microsoft.com domain, and that is by design. So if you want to go back to the questions, you just click on that Learn button again. If you want to come back to Learn, what you will see is that the page you left is the page that you return to. You can also look at Learn in full screen. You'll notice that the time is still showing up at the top. You can return to the question. You can return to Learn. And you can return to split screen. So that is how you access Microsoft Learn. It's awesome if there's something that you think you would look up in your real world job to be able to go and find the answer on Learn. And so use the resource as it makes sense, but you won't be able to use it to answer every question on the exam. All right. With that, let us go back to our deck and talk about applied skills. So let's dig a little bit deeper into our other credential type, which is called applied skills. Applied skills are scenario-based credentials that show you how to solve specific problems using Microsoft technologies. They're short, focused, lab-based, and available on demand, helping individuals build confidence and teams show capability in fast-moving environments. These short, scenario-based credentials focus on real-world work. Each scenario centers on practical tasks like streamlining a workflow with Copilot Chat, creating an AI agent, or building a natural language processing solution with Azure AI language. This real-world alignment is why organizations are adopting applied skills as a validation signals. We're also expanding our applied skills to reflect how work is actually changing, especially with AI and agents. These new credentials focus on real in-demand scenarios like Copilot, agent development, and security in AI environments, so learners can demonstrate practical capability, not just knowledge. So let's take a look at what to expect in this experience.
Microsoft has launched the Microsoft Applied Skills Credentials, verifiable credential that validates targeted technical skills. When you launch a Microsoft Applied Skills Lab, you will be presented with an interface that includes a set of instructions on the right and a virtual machine on the left. The environment where you'll be completing the tasks is live and connected to the Microsoft Cloud. First, sign in to the virtual machine by selecting the username and password in the instruction pane. Next, read the scenarios and the details about the environment in the instruction pane. This information is very important for you to complete the tasks successfully. To access the details of the tasks that you need to complete, open the email messages by selecting the Open Emails button or by selecting the email icon directly on the desktop. In the email section, start with a general guidelines email that provide details about your environment. After opening the emails, you will need to sign in to a cloud portal by using the username and password in the instruction pane. Here, I am signing into the Entra Admin Center. Some portals may require the use of multiple factors of authentication. If you are prompted for MFA, Review the instructions in the Configure One-Time Password Authentication section. This will require the use of a mobile device that has the Authenticator app installed. Not all of the portals require MFA. Here, I am following those instructions clearly. When I am presented with the Scan the QR code, I will have to complete the rest of the tasks from my mobile device. Again, all of the instructions are provided clearly in the instruction pane for you to complete on your mobile device. Again, some other portals may not require MFA. Here, I'm signing in to the Purview Admin Center. This portal is allowing me to sign in using the username and password that is available in my instruction pane. Read the instructions and complete all of the tasks. We recommend that you read all of the instructions before beginning to perform the required tasks. For some tasks, processing information by some cloud services may take a long time. If you notice that an operation is still in progress, you should perform another task while the previous task is completely processed. Take your time to read through all of the emails. They contain all of the information you need. We have found that most common errors are the result of not reading the tasks carefully. When you complete a task, you can mark it as completed. This will help you keep track of which tasks you have finished. Marking a task as completed is not tied to any work that you have done in the lab. Checking the box or not does not affect scoring in any way. If you prefer to separate the virtual machine and the instructions into multiple windows or cross monitors, select the Virtual Machine button at the top of the instruction pane. This will open a new browser window dedicated to the virtual machine. If you are unsure how much time you have left to complete the Applied Skills Lab, you can find the time remaining at the bottom of the instruction pane. Once you've performed all of the tasks, return to the instruction pane and select the Submit Assessment button. Once you've submitted the assessment, you will not be able to return to the lab. You will not be evaluated based on how you complete the tasks, but based on what you've done. If you run into any issues in your assessment, review the troubleshooting section in the instruction pane. You will notice a unique instance ID, a unique number specific to your assessment. If you need to report any issue for troubleshooting purposes, please include this number. We cannot investigate any issues without it. Your entire session is recorded for troubleshooting purposes. Everything you perform in the business tool or inside the virtual machine will be recorded. In this section, you can also access the FAQs. The FAQs provide information on system and network bandwidth requirement for this Microsoft Applied Skill Assessment. Good luck!
So that was a demo of our applied skills. Now that you have insight into the different Microsoft credentials and the value of each, let's talk about how you earn one or more of them. Because once you earn one, my guess is you're going to want to earn more. So getting started is simple. First, choose your credential type, certification or applied skills, depending on whether you want to validate breadth of knowledge and skills needed to solve problems in a job role or to validate just a specific skill. Prepare with self-paced or instructor-led learning and explore our interactive AI-powered learning experiences available through AI Skills Navigator. Pass the exam or the scenario-based assessment to earn the credential. And most important, once you earn one, celebrate your success by showcasing your credential on social platforms like LinkedIn. Microsoft recently launched AI Skills Navigator, an agentic learning space that helps you build both the technical and human skills that you need to excel in the era of AI, and it's a great way to prepare for an exam. Here's what makes AI Skills Navigator unique. First, it has rich multimodal content. Not everyone learns the same way. Some people want a video, some people want a lab, some people want to listen to a podcast on their commute. We've pulled content from across the ecosystem so learners can pick the format that works for them. Second, we have skilling playlists. These are personalized AI-generated learning plans. You describe what you're trying to learn, and AI builds a playlist, and you can use one of our curated playlists specific to a certification or applied skill that you are pursuing. We don't quite have the curated list yet, but they are coming soon. Third, we have skilling sessions. These are live-like, expert-led training, but available on demand at any time with AI coach built in. Your teams get the energy of a classroom without the scheduling nightmare. And fourth, AI-generated podcasts. This is one I'm personally excited about. Take any training module, hit a button, and it becomes a natural-sounding audio summary. Perfect for people who learn on the go or need a quick refresh before a meeting. AI Skills Navigator is now available worldwide in English with more features and languages coming soon. Visit often because we are making improvements every day. This is a quick overview of the credential journey. Once you decide where to start, prepare by taking training, exploring AI Skills Navigator, and getting hands-on experience at work or through an applied skill or both. Make sure you spend time exploring the exam sandbox to get familiar with the exam UI and our question types. Take a practice assessment. I suggest that you schedule your exam as early as possible in your journey, because not only does that become a forcing function for you to study, but it is also a milestone that is important to recognize along the way. Once you pass the required exam and earn your certification, don't forget to celebrate your success. Repeat often to stay ahead of the curve and to set yourself up to do great things by showing employers that you have the skills it takes to succeed. For those of you who are interested in certification, I want to give you a few tips that I've learned in my conversations with many of our learners over the past 20 years. First, consider taking a training course, either self-paced or instructor-led. A great place to start, as I mentioned, is AI Skills Navigator. Second, try the exam sandbox. I cannot stress this enough. Getting comfortable with the testing interface ahead of time takes away a lot of anxiety on exam day. You don't want to be figuring out how to navigate the tool when you should be focused on answering the questions. Third, take an applied skills in a related domain. This gives you practice and experience solving problems in the domain. It's one thing to read about a concept, it's another thing entirely to work through it in a real scenario. My advice to learners has always been get trained, get experience, get certified. With the exception of our fundamental certifications, you must have experience with the product or solution to pass our exams. Applied skills are a great way to get that experience. And if you pass, you'll earn a credential along the way. A few practical things. If you need accommodations, you must request it in advance, so everything is set up for you when you get to the exam. It can take a week or so to process the request and configure the exam requirements, so give yourself time. Make sure you request it in advance. Most accommodations do not require documentation, but extra time and having another person who is not your child in the room do. If you're taking an online proctored exam, run the system test on the same machine that you'll be using on the exam day. On game day, know where you're going and arrive early. Know where you are going to park. I recently learned that the most stressful part of game day experience is not knowing where to park. Don't stress about being able to find a parking spot. Know where you're going to park before you even go out the door. Next, read the exam instructions carefully. Don't assume you know what's coming. Some exams have case studies, some exams have labs, and once you leave at a case study or lab section, you can't go back. So make sure you really understand what's happening in your exam, and you do that by reading the instructions and those introductory screens that I showed you very carefully. Most importantly, manage your time based on what you see is on the exam. If you have a case study, make sure you save time to complete that case study. If you have a lab, make sure you save time to complete that lab. And here's the biggest one that I can give you from as I've talked to many learners. Don't overthink the questions. My goal is not to trick you. If you think you're reading a tricky question, you are overthinking it. I guarantee it. Your gut is usually right. Don't try to overthink the question. If you see something that's tricky, take a deep breath, reread it, and trust what you know. You've got this. If you want a simple way to explore the full portfolio, these posters give you a clear visual map of certifications and applied skills all in one place. Okay, one of my favorite parts of my job is talking to learners and hearing how credentials have changed their lives. So we are going to get to hear from a learner and an organization so that you can see how credentials have changed their lives.
Are we ready? We're just starting. We're good. Okay. My name is Amanda Downing. I became really interested in AI about 2.5, 3 years ago. I decided I wanted to get certified and take my first AI certification. And I became so energized by it that I took 4 beta certifications. At about that time, my boss was moving positions. He was going off to lead this small group of cross-section between AI and business process facilitation. And with my AI certifications under my belt and my prior consultative experience, I thought, well, yeah, that's the perfect merge for this job. My side hustle of studying just for the pleasure of studying became my new position. It is an incredibly exciting time to be throwing your hat in the ring in tech. So yes, go get certified.
I could not have said it better myself. I love that she was studying for so many certifications at one time. That's awesome. Now let's hear an organization perspective.
EPAM is global leader in digital cloud and AR-powered software engineering services. With more than 60,000 employees in 55 countries, we support our clients across different industries.
Our engineers are working on complex technical challenges and they have to be prepared to contribute day one.
We are not just training for today, we are preparing early careers as well as advanced skills teams for what's next with portfolio of credentials from Microsoft. We leverage both the beginner-level applied skills and the rest of the applied skills portfolio to help us scale readiness across regions and roles.
We are embracing AI to each and every job we have internally and externally for our clients. Our advanced skill management program, which includes certifications, applied skills, training, literacy programs, helps us to build the right team with the right skills. With applied skills, we can make all our learning focus on specific scenarios, such as deploying containers, configuring information protection, developing Gen AI applications, and finally creating AI agents in Copilot Studio. We can rely on applied skills to verify this practical knowledge. We don't need to conduct additional technical interviews. It saves time and efforts. We are very close to achieve decreasing onboarding time of our early in career engineers from 3.5 months to 2 months. We have more than 10,000 Microsoft certificates, and we are going to achieve the similar scale for applied skills to make sure that we get all necessary experience and provided for our people, especially related to AI.
So what a great story around how organization is using both applied skills and certifications to build the right team and the right skills. All right, there's one last thing that I want to share with you today, and drum roll, please. Microsoft is launching a new credential that I could not be more excited about. For years, learners have said to me, why do I have to take an exam to earn a credential when I do the job every day? Well, with this new credential, you're going to be able to do just that. So let's start with the simple but important truth. Skills are being built every single day, not just at big milestones, but in the flow of work itself. Today, much of that progress goes unrecognized. People are learning and applying and improving constantly, but we only tend to acknowledge it at major moments like certifications and job role changes. At the same time, the pace of change is accelerating. Learners are looking for faster, more flexible ways to demonstrate what they can actually do in the moment, not just at the end of a journey. This gap between what people are capable of and what's formally recognized is only getting wider. In response, Microsoft is introducing a new first-of-its-kind credential, Microsoft Pro Badge, designed to recognize skills as they are applied continuously and authentically. This isn't about replacing traditional credentials, it's about complementing them. We're capturing demonstrated proficiency in the in-between moments. Think of this as bringing visibility to the work that usually goes unseen. This enables continuous confidence, building recognition of real-world skills. It provides a much clearer and more dynamic view of capability for both learners and for organizations. And it creates a more complete picture of growth across the entire learning to work journey. Ultimately, this is about redefining how we value and recognize skills, making everyday progress visible, measurable, and meaningful. Imagine that you're using a tool like Copilot in your everyday work, and simply by doing what you're doing already, you have the opportunity to earn a credential. There are no extra steps, no separate tests, no fees. This is recognition that what happens in work, with your work, and not after it. This credential is private by default, only you can see it. Nothing is shared unless you choose to share a portable badge, much like the existing professional credentials you can share already. More importantly, this isn't about monitoring. It's about recognizing real, current skills in a way that feels natural and fully in your control. Here's how it works. You will opt in to the proficiency calculation. We have 5 levels of proficiency from beginner to expert. The system collects evidence based on how features are used, compares that to defined rubrics, and estimates proficiency only if and when you choose to have your proficiency level calculated. All the analysis happens against proficiency rubrics using telemetry. No raw code or project data is exposed. This is designed to recognize skills, not inspect work. In Phase 1, GitHub Copilot will be the first experience to bring this to life. The focus is on recognizing how developers apply Copilot in their everyday workflows. If this is interesting to you, you can join the Insiders list to get updates and opportunities to get involved. Let's take a quick look at how this works.
Hi, I'm Aaron, and I'm a Learning Director at GitHub. In the next couple of minutes, I'll walk you through how you can get your GitHub Copilot proficiency measurement on GitHub Learn. If you use GitHub Copilot every day, it can still be hard to measure how effectively you're using it. So we're changing that. We're building a new way to measure real effectiveness based on real usage patterns and verified signals from your everyday workflow. Navigating to GitHub Learn, you're greeted by a GitHub Proficiency landing page. On this page, you'll be introduced to what GitHub Proficiency is, insights into how it's calculated, and a breakdown of the different levels from beginner to expert proficiency within a specific product. You can then calculate your proficiency by selecting the Calculate Your GitHub Copilot Proficiency Level button. And here a background process begins. You'll receive a message to come back later to view your proficiency, as the calculations may take up to 24 hours to verify product signals. When the calculation's complete, you'll see your GitHub Copilot proficiency level, along with a short description of what that level means. This level is stored in your GitHub Learn dashboard, with a lot more information on your specific proficiency, and how you've scored across topics and signals, and learning recommendations. Within your dashboard, you can see your specific breakdown and explanations of how your level is calculated. And this provides you a transparent and private way to view your results and understand how you're using GitHub Copilot based on your actual product usage. And because this proficiency is designed to reflect your ongoing product usage, it will evolve over time as you continue to use GitHub Copilot and use new features. If you want to learn more, join this waitlist to get product updates and ongoing information as this product moves from a private preview to GA. And once you get access, you can authenticate to calculate your level, keep it private by default, and see how your score evolves as you use GitHub Copilot.
I am so excited about what we are going to be able to do with this new type of credential. So let's all bring it all together. So how does this new credential fit into the broader Microsoft portfolio? Microsoft has long helped learners demonstrate what they know through certifications. They remain an important part of this journey. What we're adding now is another dimension of recognition, one that reflects how skills show up in practice, including our applied skills, which are more directed demonstrations of a specific skill. Today, these are lab-based, but in the future, we may add other ways to demonstrate those kind of more structured skills. And we are adding the in the flow of work recognition. This is about acknowledging proficiency, that it's demonstrated continuously throughout everyday work, but it's not just through formal checkpoints. Applied skills will be rebranded as part of the Pro Badge brand family, unifying how we recognize demonstrated skills. So together, these represent 3 ways to achieve recognition through our industry-leading certifications, structured performance assessments, and performance in the flow of work. The shift we're making matters because career success isn't shaped only by what someone knows in a single moment in time. It's also shaped by how we apply those skills over time in real-world contexts. This new credential extends the portfolio by filling in space between traditional credential moments and making day-to-day growth more visible. Ultimately, this gives learners and organizations a more complete, more dynamic picture of capability, combining knowledge and performance to support career success. So with that, I want to leave us with just a few last closing words around what to do next. Don't forget that we're offering incentives as you participate in AI Skills Fest. Complete any AI Skills Fest eligible playlist and you can earn a voucher for 100% off select certification exams. Everyone who registers is automatically entered into a sweepstakes to win exciting prizes. And complete an AI Skills Fest playlist and earn a Credly badge to share on social and celebrate your success. Don't forget, you have this guide to the experience. Use this festival map to explore sessions, discover content, and get the most out of your time during AI Skills Fest. Wherever you are in your journey, there's a credential that fits you. I guarantee it. Start by exploring this link or QR code, and if you're interested in the new credential that we mentioned, join the Insiders waitlist to stay connected. So thank you so much for joining me today. I love talking about this stuff. I look forward to our future conversations around how Microsoft credentials can help you be successful in whatever you choose to pursue. Thank you for joining me.